namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. This is kushalmehra. So, once again, it is time for another episode of Canada. Usually, you see the wonderful face of Daniel Bordman with me, but this time I have decided to expand the panel. Just to give everyone a brief background of what we're going to be discussing today. I've been a political commentator or a social commentator for now a good decade plus, but never in my life have I come across something as I'm controlling my laughter, something as stupid as what we're about to discuss today, because I have never seen students protesting outside multiple colleges or whatever you want to call them in any country where they don't even speak the native language of their country when they're making student protest videos. But today we're going to be talking about this subject. There's apparently some student protests happening all across Canada, and I have Daniel Bordman, Sangita Iyer, and Darshan Maharaja to discuss with it. Welcome, everyone.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, Daniel, how about this? Let's start with you. lay, lay down the protest. I'm so confused.
I love this. So, this started. There's new rules coming in with capping foreign temporary workers. So you can understand where they're approaching this, but like mixed in all this system of immigration, is like these schools and students are a big part of the money laundering, human trafficking system. We call it immigration laws. But the students have started to protest because I guess society's broken down for literally anything. So now we have students. The best protest is in Brampton at Agoma College. The students failed their computer science degrees, failed their courses, and then were protesting because they still wanted to pass their courses and receive a degree, even though they failed. And then they were bell curved, or a lot of them were bell curved up into passing. So we just have this. But you have student protests going all over Canada. And the more serious ones, if there are more serious ones, are basically making the case that, hey, we came here for a temporary student visa, and the conditions were clearly that we had to go back afterwards. And now Canada's saying, yeah, those are the conditions, you have to go back. They're protesting to say, no, this student visa that I have to go to a fake school, like the one handing out computer science degrees like they're candy, this should qualify me as a temporary foreign worker because I have a degree in nothing, and I should stay in Canada indefinitely. So that is what, like, the less insane protests are just the immigration laws shouldn't apply to me, and I want my bullshit student visa to turn into a permanent residency. And that from all the way down to I didn't pass the class, but I want a degree anyway. This is what we're dealing with from the international students.
So my follow-up question to you, Daniel, is that in the year 2001, when I came to Canada, my story is this. I actually had a fully paid scholarship to go to the United States of America, Michigan Tech University, but the visa officer did not grant me my student visa for some odd reason. And then I ended up coming to study in Canada. Now, lo and behold, even Canada was not even my first option when it came to studying. Even America was my first option in the year 2001. I come here, I start studying, I finish my education, I get the hell out of here, I go back, I take whatever I wanted to, I learned whatever I wanted to, I went back. I was living in India and got married to a Canadian later on. We were living in India, and it's only 3 years ago, due to a personal family tragedy, that I started visiting Canada again. I had not visited Canada from the year 2014 to the year 2022. For 8 years, I had not even visited Canada. But I knew something that was happening in Canada. Why did I know this? Is because I'm Punjabi. I knew what was happening in Canada, and that's the thing. Even if you are a Punjabi who does not live in Punjab, you follow Punjabi news and all of this. And then when I finally took the permanent residency of Canada this year, yes, lo and behold, I was married to a Canadian for 17 years, and there are some of us who don't take permanent residency too. I only took it this year, but I find it very unique, myself in a very unique position where I kind of understand where the students are coming from. A lot of students I know are saying that they've been conned. Now, what I would like to do is, now I want to come to Darshan here. Darshanji, what exactly is the scam? What are the students alleging? I'm not able to understand because first of all, they're making videos in Punjabi. So maybe I understand what they're feeling, but what exactly is the scam all about?
Well, the root of the scam is in the fact that the conditional promise of student visa, that some students may get permanent residency, is being sold as a guarantee instead of a conditional promise over in India and mostly in Punjab. And there are other states also at play, Haryana, Gujarat, etc. But largely, you see the maximum numbers from Punjab and Punjabi speaking community of Haryana. So they are selling a guarantee that once you go there on a student visa, the word pakka comes in, which means permanent, that you will be made pakka. And if there are any obstacles, then we have ways to navigate you around those obstacles. So the kids who are coming here are coming on the assumption that they are going to spend the rest of their lives here. Although they have signed on their application that once their study is over, they will leave Canada. So the gap between the actual documentation and government policy on one hand and their expectation on the other is what is causing this conflict.
So the expectation over here, so I don't understand this. So was I stupid when I came here in 2002? I went back to India. Was I stupid to do that?
Yeah, I mean, from viewed from a certain lens, yes, you were stupid because having got the opportunity to permanently settle in Canada, you let it go. And even after marrying a Canadian citizen later on, you did not realize that fate had given you a second chance at hitting the gold mine. So you stayed put in India, so that makes you stupid because the underlying thinking here, and there are two separate streams of thought or schools of thought in India. People who are doing well, if you suggest to them that they should move to Canada, they laugh at you. Seriously, I mean, I have experienced it myself and I have friends who have experienced it themselves. One of them, yeah, went to uh, India. He's from the Marathi state city of Pune, and he tried approaching this issue with the friends in his circle, and they all laughed at him. They said, are we crazy to go there and brave that weather and grind ourselves out all over our lives and then gain nothing in the end? We are comfortable here. So that is one stratum. And the other stratum is people who have either no prospects of bright future in India, or who have convinced themselves that their future will be better in Canada. They are the ones. Like, just today I posted on Twitter about this young guy who had paid equivalent of 55,000 Canadian dollars to some agent in India. I'm told it was all paid in cash, so there is no evidence. But I was told that he came here on a LMIA to work a job, and then he was told that there is no job, you have to fend for yourself, work on cash, we'll run your payroll, just to show that everything is hunky dory. So as you have pointed out, Kushalji, that kind of money, if you put in mutual funds in India, if you invest in mutual funds, you can live comfortably on that income without doing anything.
Yeah. So I just want to come here, Sangita. uh, Before I come to you, and I want to talk to you from a very different perspective because you've been covering this issue, making intending to make a movie about it for a while. But before I come to you, just to give people a perspective, 55,000 Canadian dollars is a lot of money for anyone, whether you're living in India or in Canada. So just to back what Darshanji is saying over here, I'm going to share a couple of images for everyone before I come to Sangita. So, Sangita, bear with me for a couple of minutes because it's very important. So, when I heard the rates, and full disclosure, I knew the kind of money people were paying way before I started coming back to America and Canada too. Full disclosure, I know people have suddenly discovered, have become investigative journalists on Instagram. I knew these Instagram channels. I knew these routes. I knew all of this existed. Full disclosure, I didn't care. I was like, people are weird. Right now, the going rate to come illegally to Canada. And I'm going to explain exactly how this happens. Coming illegally to Canada, coming illegally to America. Yeah, and before Canadians get very excited, look how the world wants to come to us. No, Canadians, I'm sorry to break it to you. Nobody wants to come to Canada. Everybody who's following this illegal route just comes to Canada and goes to America. So before Canadian and the ones who are stuck here are the ones who could not cross the border illegally. So before Canadians are like, see, the whole world wants to come here. No, everybody wants to go to America. The going rate right now to go to America, and I don't know if Sangita remembers last year when Sangita and I were chatting in one of the casual conversations. Sangita, I had told you people are paying up to 50 lakhs, and I had met a few of them. Do you remember last time I had told you that a few people are spending almost 100,000 Canadian dollars to just come to Canada illegally, and then from Canada they get trafficked to America, where they end up spending, guess what, another 20 to 30,000 American dollars to all these immigration agents who have the. So you know how this racket works. There is an office in India. There's a That's a subsidiary. That is not the main office. The main office is either in America or in Canada. That's the head office. All the dirty work is done by the office in India. And all of them overwhelmingly, exceptions apply, are in Punjab. All of them overwhelmingly are in Punjab. So, why I want to back what Darshan has said here is that just Google. It's funny. I was on Clyde's show and I told Clyde that, Clyde, you should invest money in Indian markets. And Clyde was like, why? And I just looked up random mutual funds and I showed it to Clyde. I was like, listen, it's a good time to make money in India. It's a really good time to do some stuff. And I'm just sharing this. This is public knowledge, ladies and gentlemen. This is a historical return of Nifty 50 mutual funds, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, depending on where, at least in the last 3 years. Look at the returns the Indian market is giving. Why would anybody with a functioning brain, with two functioning brain cells, want to invest a single penny in migrating illegally? And guess what? The Canadian government actually knows that the Indian markets are performing very well. So, you know how I know that? This is the pension fund of Canada that has invested this month amount of money since this is only up to 2022, by the way. This obviously the figure is in crores. This is approximately $20 billion approximately invested in the Indian market by. So Canadians, your pension funds are invested in India. So now,
there's
Sangita,
a perception. I'll say it. There's a perception of free money in Canada. There's a thing out there that if you can just get to Canada, Canada will take care of you. Money will fall from the sky. And to an extent, like, it's kind of true. Like, you could just claim benefits and then like become a gangster and commit like different like fraud schemes. You can get CERB money. You can get racism money. Like, if you're pretty determined and you have a thing and you want to like fill out forms in Canada and get a bunch of stuff, like, yeah, Canada can give stuff, but also like cost of living so crazy high. So like people think of it like, yeah, lots of money does fall from the sky onto you, and you can take a lot if you kind of come to Canada. But also, like, cost of living expenses are also way over your head. So you're at the point where like, you can't even like, in order to scam the system and like live off welfare, like you have to be pretty committed to it, and you need like certain communities are able to do it, but you need like 4 wives and lots of kids and like child benefit. Like it has to be a whole, like that's a whole other level to this. That
we don't have Indian laws in Canada till now. We don't have
right?
Indian laws in Canada till now. In
No.
India, certain communities can have 4 wives, by the way.
Yeah.
Legally.
But I mean,
Legally.
you can in Canada too. There. I know, like London community is infamously run by Hezbollah Tahrir affiliated ideologues, and most of them have. It's like an open secret that most of them have 3 to 4 wives, or sister, cousin of the wife that stays, your wife's cousin that stays with you and also has kids, and a bunch of kids, and we give money for child benefits. So have all these kids, collect a big check from the government into a house, right? There is that, like, you can scam the system for money, and I think that's the big appeal of Canada and a lot of the West. Why are all these migrants going to Europe right now? And because it's free, and there's a perception that, oh, you get to Europe, you claim asylum, like you get this free money. Like that's why there is this huge clash between these people.
Why don't I get any free money?
Because it doesn't work if you're like try and go by the system. Like free money only comes to people who break all the rules and scream the loudest, and or fill out all the forms and
all right,
claim that your family fights racism, so it's a charity, and therefore, like, whatever it is, you come to. I mean, how many thousands of government programs do we just have lying around that if you wanted to, get off of, you can? That's my thing. But I think we were going to go to Sangita.
So I want to ask Sangita this question. Sangita, you're in the process of recording a lot of interviews in relation to this entire subject, and obviously you made amazing movies in the past too. As a Canadian who's been here for now such a long time, and as a filmmaker who is covering this subject, what has your experience been? Because it's very important, because you've already spoken. I know you've told me about terrible stories of students suffering over here. So give me your perspective of this thing and then I will ask for your comment on a very specific thing, but that's after you have explained your point of view.
Yeah, see, a lot of community members have been approaching me for several months now to make a film about it. And I did want to, not just as a filmmaker, but also as somebody who's been living here as a Canadian, as a mother myself. I'm seeing what impact it's having. This is not a temporary situation. It's going to have long-term impacts on our next generation, which worries me. And the more I spoke to people, because I wanted to do my homework and my research, so I started to reach out to people, different stakeholders in this entire scenario. And it was interesting because it started to clear a lot of doubts. I probably had a very specific idea about this too, like most people, and I realized it was not as black and white as we think. There's a lot of gray. And it was just like peeling layers of an onion as I was talking to more and more people. And it's amazing. So yes, there's this set of students, so-called students, who are exploiting a policy, unfortunately a very unwise policy, which has not only been fueled by political but also institutional and individual greed, and that's now impacting all of us. And now the entire Indo-Canadian community is facing a backlash, because if you see the trend on social media too, it's these Indians, those Indians, these Indians. No, Indo-Canadians have been raising this issue for a while now, but no one was willing to listen to us. We were seeing what was happening, and I think we understand how it was being done and why it was being done, but no one was listening to us. And I have come across many Indo-Canadians who are not happy with this, who are upset about this, because we're all being painted by the same brush. Unfortunately, we all have to work overtime now to make people realize that not everybody is like that. This is a very small percentage, but they're out there, so it looks like all Indians are like that. We are not. The Indians in the past, I've been here 25 years. How many Indian students have come here? I see them in universities, in proper colleges. They're in STEM courses. They're on top of their classes. Middle class Indian, most important thing for us is education. We don't mess with that. I don't know about these students, what they're protesting. I don't understand Punjabi. I understand a bit because I know Hindi well. But if they are protesting, I don't know, are you protesting against the government, against institutions? So do they understand Punjabi when who are they protesting to, and who is going to understand what they're saying? So I don't get that. What I'm also seeing is this sense of entitlement that I never saw before, until recently, in the last 2-3 years. I had not seen students have this sense of entitlement. They knew, they applied for a course, it was temporary, they came, they studied, they went back. So it's been interesting, and I've been speaking to a lot of local Canadians who I know are very passionate on this topic. It impacts all Canadians, of course. But to get their viewpoint, I've spoken to certain immigration consultants to understand how this whole thing works. I've spoken to, Darshan ji and I have spoken several times. He's part of the film. I'm going to interview him too. I've spoken to him on several occasions. I've spoken to you on several occasions discussing these issues. It's like so dynamic. Every time I decide I'm going to start filming now, some new thing. It's like a fictional film. Something new comes, and I'm like, oh, I need to wait and see how this goes. And I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and start all over again. And of course, now there's a few documentaries already made on the topic. But also, if you've heard of Lotus Funeral Home, that's another aspect, where I was looking up while you were talking, and I'll share it with you if you've not seen it yet. Interviews by the one who heads the funeral home, and what he's talking about, how the numbers are the cases of suicide. So there are a lot of genuine students who are getting targeted, who are getting fooled, getting exploited. But there's also so many of them who are obviously not students, and they have an underlying agenda. Obviously, we all know that. But yeah, these protests, these just blow my mind. So I don't know. The movie, we start filming in a couple of months, hopefully by December. We want to finish it by January, and we'll see how it all unfolds by then.
So I have a request for you, Sangita.
Yeah.
I want you to interview this gentleman over here, and I want Daniel to comment on this, Sangita to comment on this, and Darshanji, all three of you. When I read this CBC report, you know what? I truly wanted to literally bang my head on the wall. That now we are talking about such things openly. Like, please, I mean, somebody explain how this is allowed. This is a CBC report, 15th May 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to read verbatim. LMIA has become a laughing stock. Consultant, a labor market impact assessment which adds 50 points to an application, is a document from an employer to hire a foreign worker when no Canadian or permanent resident is available to fill the role. Even though it is illegal to charge an employee for a LMIA, Gupta said it is becoming far too common for workers to spend tens of thousands of dollars to have lawyers, consultants, and employers show payrolls, sometimes fake ones, in targeted job fields for the document. Quote, it is illegal, it is unethical, it is unprofessional, he said. Quote, they, foreign workers, are vulnerable, desperate. The employers find an easy way to make quick bucks. Unquote. Gursevak Singh Gill, who works as a warehouse manager, is one of the people who have taken the LMIA assessment, impact assessment route, LMIA assessment route. 34-year-old said he spent 33,500 so far, 5,000 on the IRCC application, 500 in legal fees, and 28,000 to his employer. He said this is his CRS score is still at 489, and with a work permit expiring in November, learning French is not an option. Sangita, this is a man openly admitting that he did something illegal, and this is being aired on a national government funded Canadian news channel. This is in May. I've read this article for a while. I was like, somebody will talk about it. Somebody will talk about it. This is openly illegal. Sangita, how do you feel as a Canadian when open illegality is discussed with such relative ease inside Canada?
I mean, for me, honestly, Canada has become unrecognizable. I don't even recognize this Canada anymore. It doesn't even feel like the Canada we moved to anymore. It just blows my mind. And, I've heard so many stories from consultants too, similar stories. It just blows my mind. I've heard from students, and I can't believe it. This is not one or two cases. There are several such cases. It just blows my mind. I don't understand. I don't understand. Speechless at times.
Well,
which is why I want to make the film.
This is not Canada. This is the new and better Calistanida, where people just openly admit to crimes and we play them off as victims. Like this guy tried to. You know what? I thought paying $30,000 in bribes to game the system would benefit me, but it turns out I was taken advantage of by criminals. Yes, turns out if you incentivize criminality and then tacitly endorse said criminality, you get more criminality, and that's how we roll. So,
dude, this is insane. This is an article openly talking about illegal shit. How can this be normal?
We just had a
listen, I come from a country where we bribe all the time. We don't talk about bribing people on newspapers.
Canada or Bangladesh or the Islamic Republic of Canada, whatever you want to call it. We just had a parade go directly to City Hall with a float dedicated to a suicide bomber on it. And the police were bragging. Yes, we helped the parade. We were leading it. We did this, and this. Khalistan, Shaheed, kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. And we're just, yes, like, doesn't this violate our laws? Yeah, but what's Canadian law anyway, right?
No.
It's the real Canadian law is the friends we made along the way.
No. This is Darshanji. I want to come to you. Please explain this one thing to me. This is open illegality being normalized and celebrated in Canada. Forget anything. Why isn't an average Canadian outraging about this?
Simple reason, Kushalji. We are no longer a country of the rule of law. Whether violation of law is prosecuted or not depends on who violates it and the causes attached to that violation.
Bingo!
Right? That is why you find n number of cases. I mean, I don't want to be, Punjabi specific here. There are other areas also where this is.
I will be.
Yeah, maybe. But, there are other areas where this is happening. And if you go after the wrongdoer, you are the racist or xenophobe or alt-right or right-winger or whatever epithet they want to throw.
We are three brown folks in this four-man panel. The only white guy is a Jew.
Oh, I thought Daniel was brown. Sorry, Dan.
No.
Sorry, Daniel. Sorry, Daniel. You do a better dance than I do on Chaya.
Yes, I'll do the Chaya. Do we have the photo the Khalistanis made of me in the full outfit? If we could do that as a filter, then we can have 4 brown people on the planet.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Darshan bhai. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Kushalji, every week, at least a few times, I'm called an Indian asset, Modi's agent, Hindus. There is someone who comes after me for being a Gujarati, showing links of how Gujaratis are the highest demographic in illegal migration to USA. I don't know if those links are authentic or not, but my point is that their focus is on my identity as a non-Sikh. That I am a Hindu, that I am a Gujarati. So, this is now we are, I think, reaching a very climactic point of identity politics. I hope it is the climactic point, because if it is not, then there is worse to come.
Oh, my goodness. When I say this with full responsibility, as someone who's been a social commentator, people who know me as a person will understand where I'm coming from. I've been discussing these issues for a while. When nobody was talking about the Canadian primaries being rigged, I was an idiot sitting in India talking about the Canadian primaries being rigged. I was the one literally shouting and screaming and telling people, listen, you have a problem in Canada. Well, people might say, oh, Kushal, you have a bias, your wife is Canadian. Yeah, I care for it. I care for the country where my wife is from. Is that a crime to care for the country where your wife is from now? But this is disgusting. Now I'm going to take some time. I'm going to play a few videos for all of you to understand the level of entitlement that is there. And I'm glad actually Mocha has done these interviews. I'm going to play straight those clips straight from Mocha's Twitter account, so that Mocha gets the view, Mocha gets the credit, and everything goes to him. But I want to play these clips for everyone. I think it's very important people realize that this is I don't know what word am I supposed to use. This is batshit crazy, nothing short of that. And the worst part is I actually truly feel bad for all these children. I do feel bad as a human being that these children have been scammed. But I mean, the level of entitlement is weird. So I'm going to play a couple of clips. Please bear with me, all of you, because these clips are important. And I'm glad that it's coming straight away. That Mocha always says, oh, they don't play my clips acknowledging me. Well, Mocha, I have played your clip and acknowledged you. Look, your logo is there, Mocha. So go ahead and listen to this student.
If I buy the LMIA today,
Listen to the first word the student says. If I buy the LMIA today, And now I'm going to play the clip again.
If I buy the LMIA today, if I invest 20 to 30,000 today and give it to some employer and said that I need a LMIA, he will sell me the LMIA. I will get, and that's illegal. I will get the LMIA, I will get the 50 points, and in the next draw, I will be qualified for the PR. In past month, there was a student. He was a proper athlete. He used to do a gym a lot. He don't do any drugs or anything. His permit was expiring in 15 days, and he got so much stressed. He stayed in the car for 3 days, didn't get out, come out of the car, keep on drinking, and he died in his car.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And there was a students over here. They came, they didn't get any jobs, they have a loan back home, and what they did their insurance, created a video, and go into the river and commit a suicide. So these are the situation of the students right now. They are so much depressed. There are some like us who are sticking together and have the courage to fight, because when we see each other, we are like, oh yeah, you are same like me, we are facing the same issue, right? So we have some courage to stand. But the people who are staying at homes, who doesn't have the courage to come out and fight, they are so much depressed that they are committing suicides. And otherwise they are getting exploited. Their parents are sending them money from back home, selling whatever they have, and even they will struggle over there and students will struggle over here. So that's not fair, I guess. So government should need to take at least give the extensions for time being, because right now my point is 473. In next draw I could get qualified if I buy the LMIA today. If I invest 20 to 30,000 today and give it to some employer and said that I need a LMIA, he will sell me the LMIA. I will get, and that's illegal. I will get the LMIA, I will get the 50 points, and in the next draw, I will be qualified for the PR.
Okay, before I get all of you in, I'm going to play a few more clips, but I had promised myself I was not going to use anything in Hindi language or Punjabi language, but I have to address these children as their fellow Indian. And I think Sangita and Darshan will understand my emotions when I say this. Daniel, I'm really sorry. This is going to be in Hindi because it is for those kids who are committing suicide and who are under pressure. And I really feel bad for them. And I do. All right. I do. As an Indian, I feel bad. As a human being, as I feel bad. बच्चों, मत आओ कनाडा. अपनी जिंदगी मत बर्बाद करो. ये नरक है तुम्हारे लिए. मत आओ. तुमको कोई बेवकूफ बना रहा है यहां कनाडा में और वहां पंजाब में. मत बनो बेवकूफ. ये पैसा किधर और लगा दो. तुम्हारे माँ बाप ने मेहनत करके अपना एक घर बनाया होगा. तुम्हारी माँ को स्त्रीधन मिला होगा शादी के समय. मुझे मालूम है हमारी संस्कृति में क्या मिलता है औरतों को. वो बेचारे अपने जेवर बेच रही होगी तुम्हारे इस घटिया LMIA के लिए. मत करो. हाथ जोड़ के बोल रहा हूं. अपना ये घटिया पढ़ाई करो. अपना देश इतना खराब नहीं है बेटा और बेटी, जो भी हो तुम. वहां जाओगे, उबर भी चला लोगे ना तो 30 से 50 हजार कमा लोगे महीने के, और बाप का घर होगा, माँ का घर होगा, वहां पे रह लोगे. कोई मॉर्गेज नहीं देनी अपने को इंडिया में. अपने तो माँ बाप के साथ रहते हैं हम लोग. ये क्यों कर रहे हो तुम लोग? मत करो. मैं हाथ जोड़ रहा हूं. अपनी जिंदगी बर्बाद मत करो. यहां पे नहीं रहो. I just wanted to say this, and I know Darshan and Sangita will back me in this, and they wholeheartedly understand my emotions because they know what I said. Sorry, Daniel, you may not understand what we've said, but basically, Daniel, long story short, I just requested them not to come to Canada and kill themselves. I just feel terrible when I hear this. As an Indian, my own people are dying, man, and I feel terrible about it.
Listen,
I know that.
I said I described our immigration system, and I've been saying this pre-pandemic, last, let's say, 8 years. It's a human trafficking and money laundering scheme.
You're like a lot of all the people who are involved in this.
There's people on both sides of the border, Canadians, yes, Indians, international criminal organizations that are neither, probably some quasi-terrorist organizations too, involved in this. It's human trafficking, right? And then these kids are being brought under false pretenses with the promises of money and then thrown into a system where there's this LMIA mafia, they call it. Yeah, where there's this magic piece of paper that says you're qualified to get a job. You've already invested tens of thousands into it. And now there's a system because there's no oversight, because if, God forbid, we call any immigration consultant a racist, because that blah, blah, blah. So you have this mafia where, you know, you can pay employers. They get tons of money to give you these MLAs. Then they hire them. Then they get kickbacks from the government because they're supporting temporary foreign workers and they're fighting against racism, which, you know, BlackRock and all these different major corporations will then say, oh, this is good corporate practice. This is ESG. This makes them more secure, like blah, blah, blah. But in a sense, like the cabal of whatever you call ESG or self-monitoring, this is the inmates running the asylum. These are major corporations creating policies that get them better profits, which is cheap labor in a lot of ways, and then being able to remarket cheap labor as anti-racist activism or whatever it is, or fighting for immigration. So you have these people who are being human trafficked into a scheme built on people's impulse of compassion. There's nothing people like more than an unearned sense of moral superiority for doing something incredibly easy, right? Like recycling. You could put it in this bin or this bin. One of them goes to a garbage landfill in Canada. One of them goes to a landfill in Malaysia. But one of them makes you feel good and one of them doesn't make you feel good, right? And we have this mentality towards, you know, green, gay, immigration, all the left-wing things. No one can say racism. No one can point it out. No one can warn these kids that it's a human trafficking scheme, that getting a computer science degree from Algoma College is not the same thing as getting a biochemical degree from McGill University. These are two different things completely.
Man, it just makes my
and again, like I went to one of these good schools. I went to Queen's University. That's a real university. There were Indians there. There were Koreans there. There were Chinese people there. International students are a part of this. Like that was a real thing. Like they got engineering degrees. They got science. But this bullshit of you go to Algoma College and you pay who knows how many tens of thousands to get in, how many 10,000 to get this degree. Like, guys, anyone in India who's thinking of getting into the scheme, all the money you're going to pay into the Canadian system, ignore the cost of living in Canada completely compared to India. All that money you're gonna have to invest. Just think of what that can get you in India. Just think, if you're thinking of coming to Canada, just think, do you have $100,000 to $200,000 just right now you can burn? Right? And if you do, if it's like, if you don't care about $100,000 to $200,000, if that's just fun money for you, then yeah, illegally come to Canada and have a good time. Have a good time, do this, you can get an immigration scheme, maybe get hooked up, maybe you'll become a Kalistani rap expert, who knows, right? But if you don't have like just six figures to burn for fun, that it doesn't matter to you, just think of what that money you can use to do in India and save yourself the trouble of being trafficked into a Kalistani, backed human trafficking scheme.
Yeah, Sangita, first what do you want to tell these children? And then Darshan bhai, I want you to address the children too, because listen, these are our own people. Sangita, what do we tell them?
Oh, I don't even know where to start with this. It's so hard because I'm a mother myself and I see this and I've spoken to children. I've heard their stories firsthand. What you said is, I've met students who say, oh, my dad went through this major heart surgery and I don't want him to tell him because I don't want him to, his health to go Detroit again. And and they'll say, someone will say that, oh, my parents don't know, I can't go back. We sold our property for me to get here. And it is just heart-wrenching to hear these stories. And then on the other side, you also honestly see people who are exploiting this, right? Like people who know very well that they're not coming here to study, they're coming here to exploit. They want to just stay back. There are those too. But it's the innocent students who are getting exploited. I mean, I came across this guy who actually told me a story and I actually didn't believe him at first, but he happened to know somebody I know very well. And then I thought, oh, okay, he's not lying. I couldn't believe it. It read like a fictional story. And I was like, how did you board the plane? He didn't have his paperwork and he kept stressing over his paperwork. If I can take a minute to tell his story, I won't give the name because he's very scared. He said, don't tell anybody. And he came to the airport, parents came to the airport. You know how you're in India, the agent kept postponing, abhi deta hu, I'll give it to you, abhi it's coming, it's getting delayed. The poor guy has his tickets booked, he's put all his monies at the airport. The agent finally in a rush shows up at the airport with all the paperwork and everything. The guy is just barely has time to say bye to his parents. And he's saying my parents were even blessing the agent, like, thank you, beta, for doing all this. He gets on the plane, he boards the plane, he opens the paperwork to see that, oh, this is not the college I applied for. But he's already on the flight by then. So that was intentional, them delaying giving him the paperwork. And I said, why would you go to that agent? Like, in this day and age, do you not Google, do you not, check? He's like, ma'am, he came through a friend, he was recommended through a
Sangeeta,
friend.
if you
So,
don't mind, do you know how much money he ended up wasting?
oh gosh, just the course, God knows what course that was. Just 1 year course was like close to $20,000. That was just the course and the paperwork. I'm not even talking about the agent fees. And he lands here. Apparently, he was told he'll get apparently a place to stay, and
He was
someone.
promised a residence
Yeah.
in India.
Yes, he was. He was told someone will come
Amma.
pick him up at the airport. No one came. Imagine. And sadly, it's also. He speaks English. He's not like, and I don't think he's one of those who protest, because then I won't be
That's why he
saying
got
this.
conned, because he speaks English. If he was
Yeah.
not speaking English and was speaking Punjabi, he would have had all the
Yeah,
help over
he
here.
was, but I think he's very green. He's never left the country, and the agents target such people, right? Because they know exactly. It's like, okay, this is the person who'll believe, and he came through a friend's father, so they didn't think to double check, like, oh, my uncle's whatever, Uncle G's son went and he's fine, so I'll be fine. He lands at Pearson, and there is nobody obviously to pick him up. He doesn't know what to do. He didn't know where to go, so he ends up taking a Uber to a Gurdwara. I mean, he's lucky he didn't get into more trouble than he was, but a couple of people fooled him here too. And I'm sorry to say that sometimes it's our own people, our own brown people exploiting other brown people, right? So he ended up
Sometimes
in a
it is, I think,
basement.
more than half of the time.
Yeah. So 13, 12 people in a basement, but he didn't know anybody. He trusted this guy who told him, oh, I'll help you out. I mean, that could have gone in any different way. He's lucky that he didn't end up in trouble. And when our friend introduced me to him, because he knew I was making a film, I was talking to him. He didn't want to reveal his name and anything. I was like, so many of you are going through this. Like, why don't you speak up against, like, get a lawyer, hire a lawyer, and make a case? Like, because what's happening, Kushal, is, yes, like I said, there are many who are exploiting this. They're not even coming here to study, but these innocent students are really coming here to study. They're getting exploited. They are just dragged along. Lotus Funeral Home. If you see, I found the article which said the director of Lotus Funeral Home has said the number of people, right, Darshan ji, have increased. Girls committing suicide. They are being, forced into trafficking. These are not people who came
Oh
to
yeah,
exploit.
and people who don't believe. Sangeeta, you continue. I'll take out that documentary. You remember I shared it with you also about girls. Darshan bhai, can you believe this is happening with our girls in our communities?
Yes.
Darshan bhai, they are picking up girls, confiscating their passports, taking them to Vegas to dance as strippers. Darshan bhai,
Yes.
this is happening here. The girls are dancing as strippers in America, and then they are flown back over here to our girls. And these girls are so ashamed, Darshan bhai, they can't share this in India. You know what happens. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Actually, I think about a couple of years ago, there was a front page article in a Gujarati newspaper called Sandesh, which means message,
Yeah.
with a headline warning parents against sending their daughters to Canada as a student because they could end up being trafficked. So this is known in parts of India at least.
Yeah.
But there is this Canada fever going on. I have a friend who visited India sometime last year, and when I met him, he said, Darshan bhai, this is unreal. If you park a bus in the parking lot of a plaza with a sign that says everybody who gets in this bus will be taken to Canada, it will take you less than 20 minutes to fill the bus. There is a Canada fever. Now he's describing Gujarat, where the intensity is far less than it is in Punjab.
Yeah, it's
and
just a
Haryana.
small pocket in Saurashtra where a little bit of intensity exists to leave.
Right.
Yeah, for
Right.
those people who don't understand, Gujarat is a very rich state of India. Gujarat is in the top 10 when it comes to GDP per capita. Just to give you a brief background, the smaller states with a smaller population tends to have a high GDP per capita. And even in that competition, Gujarat is in the top 10. Guess where Punjab is? Number 19. Oops. Yeah.
Right. But Kushalji, I wanted to make one point. The cruel irony is that the people who basically rob these families and students of these tens of thousands of dollars, maybe investing that money in in mutual funds, instead of the
100%, Darshan Bhai. 100%. Brilliant point.
right?
And by the way, Darshan Bhai, I want to share this. Look at the number of views, Sangita. Only 1.9K views. Do you remember this? A couple of weeks ago, this is the documentary I had told
Yeah.
you. I'm the only one who has shared this. I'm the
Yeah.
only guy who has shared this. That's why I'm giving this documentary all the air. Please look
Watch it.
at the struggles of female South Asian students and what is happening to them over here. I can't say this because of the copyright strike,
Yeah.
but I recommend all of you go and watch this documentary and listen to what's happening to the girls over here. The YouTube channel is Kahani, Kahani. Listen to their struggles, listen to what's happening to them, and it's like, why am I the only guy who's yelling and screaming about these things is sometimes what goes into my head. And for people who keep attacking Indians, I want to
Mhm.
send a message to all of you. Before all of you started talking about it, we were talking about it. We were fighting. We have been called Uncle Tom, Porch Monkey, in our language, Kom ka Gaddar,
Yeah.
Punjabi. So sabse zyada, it happens to me. I am called a traitor. It's funny. Daniel has witnessed what happens to me with my own community, and I keep, because they hate me the most because I understand what they're saying. So they hate me even more. Sometimes a Gujarati may not understand what a Punjabi is saying, but I know everything. So I expose them. But now I want to play this next clip. No, this clip is even more confusing. Again, Mocha had shared this and interviewed this person. I'm like, why is this, like, what is happening over here? And listen to this one.
Have you ever witnessed or experienced exploitation?
In Canada, if you ask the question, everybody is going to say yes, because you face exploitation from all kind. I faced exploitation from my employer who didn't pay me, even though I was working way less than the minimum wage at the time. I would not say that's particularly only our own community members, but yes, we have majorly faced the exploitation in the past from our own community members, like mostly the employers. But yes, we have come across quite a few cases in which other communities are also responsible.
Were you expecting such changes from Justin Trudeau?
To be honest, the changes that they're making to the policies are mainly targeting international students. They are trying to blame everything, even if it's housing prices, if it's jobless markets and everything. They're just simply trying to get an easy way out, blaming it on students. Whereas if you go into the deeper details, that's not basically anybody's fault. It's how the system is not working properly. And yes, I would say, though I saw those changes coming, everybody saw those changes coming, but that is not what we want. Yes.
Do you have a message to Justin Trudeau?
The message to Justin Trudeau is, me personally, I worked as a frontline worker in COVID. And during COVID, I was the one who was doing double shift when all the people that you want to create job for were sitting at home just chilling. So I put my life online during the time of need for this country. So I need him to be aware of that. He is aware of that. I need him to acknowledge it and give all those students who are fighting here for the protest for their rights, who are protesting here. I want him to listen to them and just give us a fair chance for our future.
I understand it costs a lot of money to be able to come to Canada. Was it worth it?
So as I said before, I came here almost 6 years ago, and today I see myself in a position where I do not know, should I go back or should I start again? If I go back, that's basically for me to start again, and I wasted 6 years of my life for nothing. And today I will say I'm in more worse place than the day I came into the country. So no, it was not worth it. But under the conditions, if they are actually making it worse, if they're trying to blame everything and not giving out the PRs, that's something that's making it more difficult to live. And we didn't come here to just like throw away money to the government, pay our taxes, do everything for them when they need it, and when it's very convenient for them to just throw us out. That's something unacceptable.
Okay, can I make a few comments before I get all of you to comment on this? The level of nauseating entitlement.
Hmm.
Okay, this is me speaking. I don't know if my co-panelists or guests on the podcast agree with me on this. I'm going to say this. The amount of nauseating entitlement I hear in the voice of this girl in the end, as if not giving PR, why are we coming here? I know people who have lived in America for 15 years on an H-1B. They always are in that stress.
Hmm.
Listen, immigration is a privilege.
Yes.
For goodness sake, I want to ask this girl. She's Punjabi. It's quite obvious from the accent. She's Punjabi. You know, so basically, I guess people from Bangladesh one random day should just, I guess, walk into Punjab and start living in Punjab, and then they should demand Indian citizenship, right? And they should get domiciles in Punjab, right? I guess that, I mean, 6 years, I mean, now they're here, so they should, I mean, since when did we become like this? Like, I never behaved like this. Daniel, what do you want to say to this?
Well, I mean, the most telling part is when she glossed over at the beginning that she was not paid, even though she was working below minimum wage, and she made it pretty clear this is coming from our own communities. Yes, other communities support us too, but they kind of hit the nail on the head that, like, yeah, this is part of a broken system where, like, you're mad at, like, Canadians lashing out and life's unfair. Who's been the most unfair to you? It's been the people within this system you brought in with. It's your community, right? So, I mean, and it's obvious, right? Canada's had this problem for years. I mean, it was best highlighted by the Air India bombing. When you don't speak in English or French, or if you're speaking in a foreign language, sort of anything goes. You can give death threats in Arabic. You can give death threats in Punjabi or Hindi or anything else. Because if the general Canadian don't hear it, can't understand it, there's not enough in this country to click the translate button, put like 1 degree of effort into something, and then, go here. So we have this culture again where if you're part of these different immigrant communities where we love and we accept immigrants, and the whites are just going, we love immigrants, yum, 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 immigrants cook our food, yummy, yummy, yummy. Oh, white people have boring food. This is also wonderful. We want to, keep this going on. But all the crime people are learning, and it's insensitive. If you commit crimes in Punjabi, like when you can just speak Punjabi, or when you can't speak English as well, or if you could do something in Punjabi, the Canadian establishment is too lazy and apathetic to translate any bad behavior, for the most part, in 99% of cases, of crimes and exploitation not committed in English in Ontario and French in Ontario and non-Quebec and there. So, like, that's why there's this exploitation ring that she fell into. And, you want to come to Canada, it's like, okay, I get it. Yeah, you worked, and like, I feel, again, you were trafficked into this system of sort of coming in, but you were sold this false narrative. Like, what is this narrative that, like, you would just come to Canada and every Canadian, like, money falls from the sky and then you get a house and whatever? Like, what was the actual plan here? And you were supposed to get educated. And if you wanted to get educated, get your things and then go back. And then that would count towards points. When you want to come, you can apply a few years later for permanent residency and another type of visa. Like, you get points in our system. Like, the reason why it's hard to immigrate to Canada, why it's hard to immigrate for Western societies, is because when you become a citizen, you are entitled to stuff. You get money, you get Social Security, you get tax benefits. Like, if you become a Canadian citizen and then just want to, live off the state, you can. Like, it's not the greatest living. You might end up with people, but you can get you get benefits for being Canadian. You get, like, the money does kind of fall. So when you have an immigration system that has sort of like a pot at the end, let's say, you need to have really high qualifications of who can get into the country and qualify. Like, that's the whole thing. We all used to understand this in 1909. everyone understood this in like the 20th century, and then for a good part of the 21st century. And then at some point, we all lost our minds on this. But Bill Clinton would have absolutely agreed, and no Democrat would have argued against this, or any liberal in the John Chrétien area, that like, well, you need to have standards for immigration because we want the best of the best. And if you just let anyone in and you have the low quality, the system will collapse. We used to understand this. At some point, we lost complete moorings of the entire immigration conversation, and it's gone off the rails. But the key exploitation here, she's saying, is coming from our own communities, which, yeah, you can blame the Canadian system and all this, but and she even said at the end, like, yeah, we all kind of saw this coming, because, yeah, you're going to exploit. The system's broken. You're brought into a broken system, and then, like, there's no, you want a piece of the pie? There's no pie. The country's collapsed. We gave it all out. It's all gone to Serb and whatever. Like, it's a house of cards. Like, what do you expect? Like, we're just going to find houses when there's a homelessness crisis for you? Like, what do you expect? What can we even do that would meet your expectations of this promise that you came into your head? Like, none of this is even possible. So it sucks. It's like, should you go back to Punjab? Well, you're worse off here, and probably, yeah, you got scammed. I'm sorry. Canada, like, no one in Canada voted for this. It was all done by our leaders and all this, who thought they knew better, and none of this was ever put on the electoral ballot. It was all technocrats anyway. But, you can't put spilled milk back in the carton. Like, it's the vase is broken. It's on the floor. You kind of have to deal with the situation now, that this is what it is. And, we have to close down the MIAs. We have to have less foreign students, because if you have millions of people coming in, you can't help anyone. If you have thousands of people coming in, you can help them.
Okay, I want the reaction of Sangita and Darshan on the demand of the Naujawan. Just first of all, before somebody thinks that this is the Naujawan Support Network, this girl was part of the Naujawan Support Network. Naujawan, for those who don't know, is a word in Hindi, Urdu, Punjabi, which means youth, young. So these are their demands, Darshanji and Sangita. Why are we protesting? Over 70,000 international student graduates in Canada faced mass deportation because their work permits are expiring in 2024-25. We have international students receive a 1 to 3 year postgraduate work permit. After completing their studies, their work experience during this period is the basis for applications for permanent residency through certain immigration pathways. During COVID, the federal government made it easier for international students to work and secure PR. These changes were due to, quote, labor shortages in Canada, which will still continue. But in recent years, PR pathways have become severely restrictive and unpredictable. There is now a massive backlog of PR files to be processed. International students with expiring work permits have been left in crisis through no fault of theirs. We have worked and built communities in Canada for years. After using our cheap labor, especially during COVID, this country is trying to discard us. Like so many foreign workers in Canada, we refuse a lifetime of uncertainty, indignity, and precarity. Our demands are extend work permits expiring in 2024 and 2025, 5-year PGWP for all international students, stop LMIA-based exploitation, fair pathway to PR, consistent laws, separate PNP and CNC. I want Darshan and Sangita to comment on this.
Kushalji, you use the word nauseating.
Yeah, it is.
I have found the official statements and announcements for years to be nauseating when it comes to immigration. Because if you check the subtext, it's as if immigrants are doing Canada a favor by coming here, and that if not for their arrival, the country's economy would collapse. And I include myself in that immigrant community.
Not just you, anybody who has come from the last 200, 250 years. Anyone.
Yeah, right. That, as if we are desperate, the world is soon going to run out of people and we should get as many as we can in as short a period as we can before supplies run out. That is the kind of panic that I sense.
The Indians are not producing babies. Let me get all those Indians.
Right? Nobody has paused to examine as to why, after 40 years of aggressive immigration targets, the birth rate has not increased but rather declined, when you are getting immigrants from high birth rate areas for 40 years and your birth rate continues to decline, then the problem is not with the people, it is with the environment in which they are trying to hack out a living. So, that is one part. Secondly, when Prime Minister Trudeau announced reduction in the temporary foreign worker program, he said something that hasn't received enough attention from our usually asleep media, which is, he said that now that inflation is down, we can lower the number of temporary foreign workers. What does it mean? It means that when inflation is high and when Canadian workers are pushing their employers to increase their wages to cope with the increase in cost of living, the government has an unstated policy to bring in foreign workers to deprive Canadian workers of their bargaining power.
Yep.
This hasn't received any commentary in our mainstream media or even elsewhere. I'm the only guy hammering this point. So when she says that, we were here and first of all, if she was working for less than minimum wage, that was illegal.
Mhm.
So that needs to be actioned first. Maybe she didn't have an option, but the employer at least should
Has
be
to be
taken
put in
action
jail.
against, right? Now, here's something very interesting. When foreign workers are proved to have been exploited by an employer, the government levies a penalty, but the employer can continue to get foreign workers.
Mm.
But if they fail to pay the penalty, then they lose their eligibility to hire foreign workers. This doesn't make sense to me. It is as if the workers' welfare is not important to the government at all, as long as they keep getting their money.
Mhm.
So when she said that, we have been working here, like she was here for 6 years and therefore she is feeling entitled to get permanent residency, and all the workers who were here working during the pandemic, etc., are entitled to a renewal of their work permit. That sense of entitlement comes from the way the system is structured and the way all our politicians go about talking about immigration, because they uh, kind of project as if without immigrants, an unending stream of ever higher number of immigrants, this country will collapse. So naturally that bounces off on the people who are coming in. They are going to feel that without us this country is going to collapse. So I don't particularly fault her for having that sentiment. It's in the ecosystem.
It's actually a very valid point, Sangita, what Darshan Bhai has said over here, that you know what's happening, Sangita? The stinking feeling I have, and I've shared this privately with all three of you. I mean, you guys are evidence to that I had kept on predicting this. Darshan Bhai I've just come across recently, but the other two know me for a while. And I have said this multiple times that listen, the policy was done by design.
Mm.
The policy's intention was there. So now what has happened is the economy tanked, and now they are not able to create enough high paying jobs for their, I don't know what other word am I supposed to use, and I say this with a lot of internal baggage when I say this, and anger. There were not enough jobs for those regular Canadians. So now they have to shut those regular Canadians. So they want these people who they were exploiting all the time to go back. Now, how do they do this, right, Sangita? So they need the perfect patsy.
Mm.
They blame the brown businessman, the brown student, everything. You brownies, you go. Did brown guy make the policy?
No.
Did the Indian student Sangita sitting in India lobby to the Canadian Prime Minister and said, Hanji, Jastinder, oh Jastinderwa, please make policy. Did we do that in India?
I will say I do know some of the liberals who are behind some of this policy. Some of them are white, some of them are brown.
Oh, the great man who passed the thing. What was his name? Darshan Bhai, Saral or what? M44 was pushed by Saral, right?
Randeep Sarai.
Sarai.
Sarai. Oh
Randeep
yeah,
Sarai.
Sarai.
Actually, this brings up an important point, which is that there is this motion M44, which very few people have talked about. I have put out a couple of podcasts and one article on that. It was passed in May 2022,
And even
asking
the
the
conservatives voted for it.
it passed unanimously, 324 to 0. Okay, asking the government to create permanent residency pathways for all skill levels and for temporary foreign workers, including international students, which means international students are not primarily students, they are only a subset of for foreign workers. So the intention was, or the expectation was, that they'll come here and work. And if they get some extra time, they'll study also. But the term all skill levels is where this whole thing hinges, because it did a 180-degree turn on our immigration policy of 40 years plus, which
Which was
was to
working, by the way. Which was working.
working splendidly, or at
Can
least
I add to
reasonably splendidly,
Yeah.
of
Can I add to
getting
this word, Darshan? Let's even the very term. We need a fair pathway to permanent residency. We have one. Are there
Yeah.
not permanent residents in Canada? There already is a fair path. Like what this is saying is, we want our temporary foreign visa.
Wait. I've not even pissed you off enough. You have not read the second page. Please read. Oh no, my man.
All right,
Read
I'll
the
save
second
it. We'll get the
page.
page too. All right, I had this.
see, immigrants are the backbone of Canada. This is a
Immigrants are the
complete
backbone of
reflection.
Canada.
It is a reflection of the official messaging for as long as I have been in Canada, and I find it nauseating, because yes, they are the backbone of Canada, but not in an unqualified manner. See,
like if you could say skilled immigrants to like the brain, this is economics and like geopolitics, getting a brain gain and reducing a brain drain, right? There's some element to that. It's not 40,000 people doing Uber. Like that's different than like, oh, we plucked this kid out of Mumbai.
No, but
But
I want to ask Sangita's opinion on this line. Sangita, the one line says, "We do the jobs that keep Canada running, from driving trucks to building homes to serving in restaurants."
Yeah, we know how that works out. I mean, just go on Twitter and read how people are complaining about service at Tim Hortons and accidents by truck drivers. What are they talking about? What homes are they building? I don't know. All I can say
in the Humboldt truck crash, the most famous.
Well, I mean, if you're coming as a student or immigration or PR, doesn't matter. When you made the decision to, the bare minimum is, if you're applying as an international student, you need to know English. You need to be able to communicate in English. That is the prerequisite if you're coming as a student. Two, you make an effort to assimilate. I do not see enough people making an effort to assimilate. When we all came, and we know hundreds and thousands of others who immigrated to this country, they made an effort to assimilate. I have been able to assimilate. I have been here 25 years. I think Canada was that melting pot at one time. I mean, those of us who have been born and raised in India, I think we can agree that, I mean, India is the epitome of diversity. And when I came here, I actually felt good. I thought, oh, I mean, this is pretty diverse, and I didn't have a challenge assimilating in this country. And I was able to practice my faith, my religion, my beliefs without compromising, and still be able to assimilate. So what I'm seeing more and more now is this. First of all, this word international students, when I see all these protests happening across the country, where are the international students? I'm not seeing diversity. I mean, international students come from all sorts of countries.
All speak one language.
Yes. So what is international about that protest? I have no idea.
It is still international, right? It is outside Canada.
If you can't speak
to be fair to them, what I say is like, there are lots of international students from other places, but you say China and Iran, and most of those people with the money to scheme the system there are connected to regimes. So it's a completely different thing when we talk about that level of international students.
But Daniel, I'm talking about the private colleges. Like if you see, when I speak to immigration consultants and I speak to people in India and here, just when I was researching about my film and I spoke with them in confidence, They have said, and on record, that about 99% of these so-called colleges are fake, right? So it's a scam, and this is what's happening. So these people are getting fake certificates. They're coming here. They've been told and coached that you won't need to worry. You'll get your PR, you'll get to work, you'll get back to stay. These are the ones I think who are protesting, not genuine students. Mind you, there are genuine, but how can you be an international student and not know English?
Can I back Sangita up again? Because listen, a lot of people will end up accusing Sangita of saying she's making things up. No, I mean, when I saw this video, I don't know if Darshan Bhai remembers. I messaged Darshan Bhai. I was like, "What the hell are these people doing?" I don't know if Darshan Bhai remembers. I sent him a WhatsApp and I was like, "Why are they doing this? Like, it's so embarrassing and it's so irritating at the same time that like I feel like an idiot. Why did I come here? And why did I go through the grind here?"
ਅਕੈਡਮੀ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਨੂੰ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਾਲਜ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲੇਟੈਸਟ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਆਇਆ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਬੇਸ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਸਟ ਸ਼ੋ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ
Protest.
ਕਾਲਜ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਫ੍ਰੈਂਡਲੀ ਵੇਜ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਸਟ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਆ ਵੀ ਕਾਲਜ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਧੱਕਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਸੀ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਗੱਲੋਂ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਤੋਂ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਕਿ ਨਜਾਇਜ਼ ਧੱਕਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਧੱਕਾ ਬਰਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਐਜ਼ ਐਨ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਨਾ ਦਾ
So what they're saying, what this dude is saying in Punjabi is that ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਧੱਕਾ ਕੀਤਾ, as in they have done something really bad with us in the colloquialism of Punjabi, and we can't take care, bear this. Basically, they failed him, and he's like, "How dare you fail me?"
Yeah, so say these are the ones. If we're wondering, these are the. I believe this is Algoma College, where they all failed their computer science course.
These are your favorites.
These are my homies. These are my people. Okay. I love them, and I support. I support them 100%, and by proxy, so does the rest of the panel. Now I'm declaring. They came to Canada, and didn't speak a word of English there, so that's why again it just full support to this. And they failed a computer science course, probably because it was in English, and that's racist to run a course in English in an English-speaking country. I support them in that too. And they want a computer science degree. And even though they failed the classes, and the university capitulated and bell curved a lot of them up, and some of them get a chance to repeat it, which brings me to my point that I also want a computer science degree from Algoma College. I am on a computer right now. Okay, I have used a computer for over decades. I like science. I don't do science. I got a good marks in high school chemistry. I can balance a chemical equation or two if you put me back up to it. I could figure it out. And I want to take a computer science test. I will, but it cannot be in English, okay? Because that's racist. So you can't make me take the test in English and French. I want to be able to take the test in the language that best represents me and my culture, which is interpretive dance. So I want.
Daniel, now you sound like Sangita Iyer.
I know I'm a student. I'm a trans student. I identify as a student at Algoma College. I'm trans student. I'm trans studentry. So as a trans studentry computer science user, I demand a computer science degree to affirm my identity as a student. And I don't think I should be forced to take the course or even do it. I don't even think I need the test. If they didn't pass this, I don't need to pass the test. I just need to take a test in interpretive dance for a computer science degree, which I rightfully own. And I want a master's. Now, I don't just a degree. I want a master's. I want a master's in computer science. And I say everyone should support us. So support this channel to support. It's now a charity. This channel is now a charity designed for fairness and equity in Canada. And fairness and equity means that I should be able to get a computer science degree in Algoma College and become a citizen of whatever country in the world I want.
Darshan bhai, why are they protesting in Punjabi if they want to live in Canada?
See, I am in touch with a professor at one of these colleges. I won't reveal even the location because I am bound by promise of secrecy. But this professor has had a similar experience where the entire class was Punjabi and they were not attending class or not putting in the work, the assignments, even when he made it very clear that the assignments have a weightage in their final mark, they were not putting them in. He was giving them resources which they never bothered to follow. He, told them clearly that if they don't put in the effort, they will fail, and offered extra time. He said, if you want me to stay after class, then I'll help you out. They were accessing online cheating tools like AI, and
Yes.
there are people in India who write your paper because
Yeah.
it's all online, so they can. And he has the tools to detect when something has been copied or not written by the
Wait,
students.
what?
Yes.
They're finding good students in India. That is outsourcing on steroids.
He's right.
So
They are using AI.
yeah, so he failed them. So
Yeah.
he failed them. Therefore, the students lodged a complaint against him of racism, that he has failed them because he is a racist, because unfortunately,
Oh.
dude happens to be white. So
Hmm.
he lodged a claim, they lodged a claim of racism, saying they have been unfairly treated because of racism. And ultimately, the college decided to pass many of them,
What?
almost all of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sadly.
Yeah. So dude left. He left his post as a professor, having taught for decades in Canada. So, one of the collateral damages of this whole mess is that we will be losing good teaching talent,
Yeah. Yeah.
because people will get frustrated. They have spent 20, 30 years in this field teaching, and now they are seeing something that they can never accept in their lives, and they will leave and find some other work to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know what has happened with this latest protest, but the previous one that happened, I think it was late last year or early this year at Algoma.
Mm.
There also a similar mess I noticed, where the professor looked like he had been trying to get the students to get serious about their study, but these are students whose families took a hefty loan beyond their means to get to Canada, so they are working 2 or 3 jobs. One of them may be at official, on paper, and the other two may be off the records, just to send money back to India so that the family can service the loan. They have no time. And there is another thing here, which is that when we say international student, we everybody understands from the context that we are talking about students at these sham colleges, and
Mm-hmm.
including Conestoga and all. They have also become sham colleges. But actually, if you look at international students at the top universities,
Yes.
they are a completely different demographic. And I have talked to some of them, in fact many of them. And there was one time when I was sitting with a group of computer science students at U of T, and we got to chat about our talk turned to Terminator 3 for whatever reason. And then the students got into a very serious discussion as to whether Skynet could actually be self-aware. This is a very revealing point of difference between the two demographics,
Yeah.
which is that these kids had seen the movie. They are used to seeing American movies, English language movies. They have a degree of familiarity with Western culture, including reasonable proficiency in English. And they are from the happening stratum of India, where, for an international student, tuition is 60,000 plus at U of T. So they are looking at $250,000 just in tuition, then the living expenses for 4 or 5 years.
And they
So
have to
that
show
is,
that, right? Upfront.
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt, but they have to show that.
yeah. Even these kids show that they have money, but they don't.
They
But
don't.
No, they
but
They
you
show
don't.
can't,
it. They
yeah,
show it.
you can't fake having $250,000,
No.
right? So those kids, when they pass out from university, they land at Amazon or IBM or Stripe
Mm.
or whatever top name IT company, and their first job will be at 100K. Whereas these kids who have borrowed money to come to a fake college, and then they are doing minimum wage or less than minimum wage jobs, and they are now demanding PR. I was on a podcast of a Punjabi friend of mine who has a YouTube channel, and I said, nobody has asked them, nor have they volunteered as to what they think their life will look like if they get PR, because they have no marketable qualification.
Mm-mm.
Even public colleges are now being looked at with disfavor by employers. Places like Conestoga and University of Canada West, which is in BC. So they what is their future? If they get PR, then how are they going to have happy lives where they can afford stuff, where they can provide for their families, where they can actually have a family? Because the way they are living now, 15 to a basement or 20 to a basement, that seems to be their future to me.
Yeah.
So how are they going to even form families?
Some are even applying for like fake refugee statuses. Some who don't want to go back. We've heard of several stories where they are going up to immigration consultants and saying, how can I apply for a refugee status? Can you help me fake my documents? And I've heard of examples from a gentleman who I'm going to include in the film too. I'm going to interview him. And I'm appalled at what I'm hearing. These are people who are approaching him directly and saying, oh, can I just say that, I have this problem back home? And I was like, but do you have proof? Is it really happening? No. How about if I pose with a picture of a Khalistan flag in my hand? Would that give me refugee status? Could you help me get there? And when the gentleman refused to help, he told, oh, I looked up your review and your reviews were so good and I thought you'd help me. You're Indian too, you're not helping me. He declined to help him. What I'm trying to say that when it comes to Indo-Canadians, not everybody is the same. We are concerned, many of us here, and so many that we have spoken to. And to your point earlier about your friend Darshanji, who's a teacher, we've come across so many white Canadians too who are raising this issue and concern, and in all fairness, and they're being labeled as racists because they're white. And
Okay.
it's so unfair.
I have an idea, maybe a great idea, maybe a terrible idea. Kushal already knows where I'm going with this. Can we make me a Khalistani refugee? Can I? What's we all know the guy. I can't remember his name because I work with too many different communities. It's hard to keep all the names. But there's that Khalistani MP in Punjab who grants people all the Khalistani, whatever citizenship. Can we do a sting operation? Like, I don't know, how much do we need? Like, $5,000 to trick him? Like,
How
whatever
do we
it
trick
is.
him now? You already said it on live. Like,
It's Canada. You can play your cards open. Everyone's an idiot. I'm working under the assumption that everyone's an idiot.
I'll find you one, Patsy. Don't worry. We'll find you a Patsy.
Can we do a thing? We can make a YouTube video where I become a Khalistani refugee, and then I can become the leader.
Dude,
then I can go to these gurdwaras, and I can
what
I don't know in Canada.
I don't know if you three have heard of one of the stupidest refugee claims made from a Punjabi was, I have a fear from my family back in Punjab.
Yes, I've heard that. Yes.
I was like,
my mom has a big wooden spoon, and she's going to.
That was so good. I was like, it's beyond a point. I start laughing because clearly nobody would try this stunt in America. I can guarantee you this stunt is only going to work in Canada because nobody takes this country seriously. No one takes this country seriously because your politicians have basically in the last 10 years signaled to 2-3 particular groups in this country. Why are there no Gujarati videos of students protest? Why are there no Tamil videos of students protest? Why? And I'm saying this as a Punjabi. Okay, they may go after Darshan Bhai because Darshan Bhai is Gujarati. Sangita is not Punjabi. You're clearly not Punjabi, Daniel.
But hey, what do you mean? I can't. I assume it's Punjabi or am I?
No, that's not Punjabi. Yeah. That's Hindi. And by the way, just because I taught you Punjabi swear words doesn't make you Punjabi.
I forgot them already.
So the problem with this entire issue is everybody knows what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take this head on again. Yes, there are some people who are white who are protesting, but let me tell you, it was the brown folks who were protesting for the longest time. It was the brown folks who were getting the worst. You know how many threats people like me get? Yeah, to all the white people watching this, I get threats. You don't.
All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make you pull up the most recent super chat because this proves my point, and it is a thing.
And I'm going to forward you an article, Kushal,
Oh,
in the
this
meantime.
Daniel is Punjabi too. Daniel Jeet Singh.
Yes, official. I want refugee status. I am Jagmeet Singh's father. I want refugee status right now, and I want Jagmeet Singh to call me daddy. I am Danjeet Bordinder Singh Borden.
Daniel
Bordinder Singh.
Jeet Singh Bordman. What the hell
Yes.
is happening? But on a very serious note, now I'm going to explain this for the Indians. Know this for the record. The Indians, every Indian knew this. It's not like Darshan Bhai did not know about this. It's not like Sangita did not know about this. And notice every time a video like this comes, the first people to go under a video of a student protesting in Punjabi, notice who are the ones abusing them. They are brown people saying, what the hell? Like, let me give everybody a brief introduction into brown culture, especially the culture we came from, whether it's Darshan Bhai, whether it's Sangita, whether it's myself. If we got bad grades, there was hell to pay. I would literally get petrified of the very thought of getting bad grades. And I would be like, oh my God, what will mom and dad think? What will my uncle think? What would my aunt think? And that's why we have a culture of excellence, which is why we get good grades. Look at the average GPAs of most Indian students in good universities in America, Canada, Australia. We are usually the toppers of the class because we are so shit scared. Because ask me, our culture is a little toxic when it comes to the grade obsession. That's my opinion. Maybe Darshan Bhai and Sangita may not agree with me. I think it is next level toxic, the obsession with grades. And Daniel will understand, he's Jewish. So you guys are also same pathetic people like us. You guys also obsess over grades all the time. But it's a culture. There's so much pressure. And then when I come across these videos, I was like, what? I can make Punjabi videos now in Canada and get away with it? What the hell? It's all coming from one tiny subculture. Not even the entire culture of Punjab. It's a tiny subculture of Punjab. And
which I now identify with and am the leader of, by the way.
Yes.
So I just want to make clear, this tiny subculture causing the problems, I am the leader of this subculture and therefore directly responsible and a refugee. So continue.
It is so frustrating that something like this, again, why I'm doing this is because I know a lot of white folks will watch this podcast. So for white folks, this is not for you Indians, because I have an Indo-Canadian channel. So some Indians watch, some Canadians who might be white might watch this. So white people, this is for you. We care a lot about grades. Another funny thing in our culture, which I mock when I'm in India, Indians correct each other when they make a mistake in English. Indians have a nauseating habit of correcting each other's English. Indians are grammar Nazis. Look at how Sangita and Darshan are agreeing with everything I'm saying, because every freaking Indian knows we are grammar Nazis. So I have seen Indians who speak better English than Canadians. And when I see these students, and the first reaction when I messaged Darshan on WhatsApp was, who are these people? Where have they come from? Where did we find them? Like, even I can't relate to them. What the hell? So it is very important for every average white Canadian to know that you just can't typecast everyone. And first of all, why didn't you protest when people like Balraj Dale were talking about Khalistan in the late 80s? Why didn't you protest in the 90s? Why didn't you protest from 2000 to 2010? Why suddenly do you guys talk about Khalistan now? Because you just have a few jobs that you wanted and you're not getting it. So my question is in return to all of you too. Why didn't you guys care then? You didn't get any threats. I got him. Darshan gets called all sorts of names, which are so nasty on social media. Luckily, Sangita is not active on social media, but now she's also ruined because she came on my podcast. Now she's going to get it. We are the ones who get, we are the ones who get abused all the time. And it's very easy to blame all the Indians. All right, hypothetically, all the Indians, by the way, India can absorb all Indians. Right now, India is doing really well. India can absorb all Indians. But this is a stupid argument. Like a girl of Indian origin, like my wife, she's born and raised here. Why should she go back? She's Canadian. What the hell is this kind of an argument?
Hmm.
That every Muppet, every third Muppet on social media that keeps they keep saying, oh, all in you Indians need to go back. No, Darshan is Canadian, Sangita is Canadian, my wife is Canadian. Maybe I'm not Canadian. You can send me back. Well, I'm going back in November anyways. So, but it's ridiculous the kind of arguments that are made, and nobody wants to talk about the Khalistani networks that are running. Look at the timing of the UN report, Darshan Bhai. The UN report was not done out of some honesty.
Mhm.
The UN report was to create a cover. And what was that cover? The cover is very clear. The cover was to then show politicians to go out and then talk to these students, just like good Mocha has covered this, that this is a conservative party leader, by the way. Conservative MP from Brampton, Bob Dosanjh, participating in multiple protests against deportations of foreign workers. How nice. These reports are created so that this veneer is created, and then the report is used as a citation to legalize all these people. All these non-English speaking people are now going to live in Canada. Then why the hell did I learn English, man? Was I an idiot to go through it? Was Sangita an idiot to do that? Was Darshan an idiot to do that? Were all of us idiots?
I mean, you could say the ability to speak English protects you from exploitation in Canada. Like that,
Yeah.
that's the real thing. Is like, yeah, if you don't speak English, you'll get a lot of sympathy from government bureaucrats, and they'll go, "Aw, like here's a hotel to live in."
Sorry,
But
Bob,
then
Bob
when you're in that
Dosanjh is
hotel,
a candidate, not an MP, but he is a candidate from the Conservative Party, right?
Yes.
Well, also, I think most people don't realize that for those of us who grew up in India and we had education in India, India has education in English medium. Sometimes people think that all of us who came from India don't know how to speak English. We haven't learned, or they're surprised. Oh, you speak English. We went through English medium education through our schooling and university and PhD and whatever. So most Indians will. And to your point, the students that have been coming here have been those students. So, and I really, when in all this discussion, I wanted to say that I truly empathize with the genuine students who are coming here and who are getting cheated
Fully
by this.
empathize with the Canadian Sikhs, Sangita. Look at this Canadian who has said this. He's a Canadian of Indian origin, right?
Yes.
What is he saying? Most Sikhs in Canada are not Khalistanis. It is
Yes.
the radicalized, loud minority which is running the hate agenda. Most Indian restaurants are run by Sikhs. I saw many Sikhs in the Janmashtami, which is a Hindu celebration.
He's right.
Like, this is creating problems for Canadian Sikhs.
I mean, have we ever heard growing up in India? I never differentiated between Hindu, Sikh. These discussions never even were in our vocabulary. And I'm seeing this now at this age and stage of my life. I mean, we're supposed to be in the 21st century, and I feel like we're becoming more and more aggressive. I mean, there's so much divide. I came across some Sikh person. I was so heartbroken to hear. I mean, for us, when we think of Sikhs, we think of military, army, patriot, right? Growing up in India, we have that regard for Sikhs. And I met somebody here who's a Sikh young gentleman, and I almost didn't recognize him because the first time he had a turban, and the next time I met him, he didn't. And I was like, "Oh, what happened?" And he got rid of his turban because of the situation in Canada, because he feels like Sikhs have. I mean, it was so sad to. I've never come across something so sad. I was so sad to hear him. He was saying that I'm young, I'm a student, and this is like I'm being considered as one of those pro Khalistani people when I'm not. And how does he explain to anybody?
Sangita,
I
do you
want to point
remember?
out to Canadian. Listen, can I give the Canadian perspective here, because this is the real tragedy, and this is part of like the decline of our country in a lot of things in this. Canada and like generally the West, but especially Canada's admitted that we are the place where people of different societies can come and get along, because that's what the promised Canada is. Canada is the place where you bring Jews and you bring Muslims and they can coexist in Canada. That's the way it is perceived. That is what is Canada. And so it is sad because you put Jews and Muslims in the Middle East, boom, they're going to start shooting at each other, right? The fact that between Sikhs and Hindus, Canada's not only a place where it's not the place where Sikhs and Hindus can get along. Canada is now the place that exacerbates the problems, or in fact creates the problems of Sikhs and Hindus, where people who have no problem as Sikh or Hindu, they're not, some people leave the Middle East and there's persecution, then they come here and there's Canadian discrimination, but it's less. Okay, if you're saying there's more discrimination in Canada than the Middle East, you're a Muslim Brotherhood plant, and like I want nothing to do with you. But we now actually have a crazy situation where Canada is a place where we have manufactured racial or religious tension between two different groups, and when Canadians hear that, like that should shake Canadians to their core, because part of, or what makes Canada run, and the idea that Canada, if it's to be valuable, is Canada is a place, and Canadian values are such that, if implied properly,
Yes.
should create harmony among different groups.
Yes.
And this is a case where we're creating disharmony actively, and it's
You're right. And we had
But-
that, right? To Daniel's point, that we had that. And I don't know if it's from the invent of like this formally introducing DEI. I could be wrong. Some people might get upset. I'm saying this, but I mean, true diversity existed in Canada without calling it DEI, but that's gone for a toss now. I feel that. I mean, I
No,
don't
but
know.
even in the Indian community, Sangita, I think this live viewer has made a very valid point. Khalistani Sikhs are the only Indian group promoting a regional Punjabi identity in the West. I have never seen Gujaratis, Bengalis, South Indians, Punjabi Hindus, and Punjabi Sikhs, normal Punjabi Sikhs, promoting regional identities in the West. It is only the Khalistanis who are doing this here. Nobody else is doing this here. And now they have entered the system so much, which is why I keep telling, something happened in the 80s, Canadians. Your primary system got hacked. Your primaries got hacked in the 80s, Canadians. Systematically, every single representative getting into all political outfits became a Khalistani. Those Khalistanis are running your political parties right now and are lobbying for all sorts of absurd immigration demands. They found the perfect storm in Justin Trudeau and my favorite Canadian politician, Jagmeet Singh. I love Jagmeet Singh. Nobody loves Jagmeet Singh more than
that's
Kushal
me
Mehra.
saying I love him more because he is my son now. So I
Oh,
love
yeah,
him as
sorry.
a son, which you can only love him as a Punjabi. He is my literal son.
Yeah, I love him so much that he can't even come to India. That's how much Jagmeet Singh is wonderful. Imagine, for a politician, he does not have that diplomatic leeway to enter India.
India.
That's how good Jagmeet Singh is. And I can assure you, he will never enter India. I can assure you this. But Canadians, please understand, even now, okay, I have taunted you for not caring enough. And believe me, I speak as for most Indians here, that we taunt all of you, that when we were yelling and screaming about Khalistan, none of you cared. I see Darshan and Sangita just quietly nodding, knowing, because why didn't you listen to us when we were yelling all these years? But wake up now. Understand, you're literally allowing extremism in your own land, and to paint Indians as some kind of, listen, if Indians stop coming to this country, it's, at the end of the day, you're going to have multiple problems in Canada. India is a major trading partner with Canada. There are 1,000 other problems. You can't spoil relations with India. But you know why the Khalistanis are gaming this system? I don't know what the views of the other panelists are, because they know Canada needs India desperately. Khalistanis know the trade imbalance more than any of us. That's why they're misusing this system. And it is time, which is why brown Canadians have to start speaking up, so that they normalize this. They normalize the pushback. And now I'm just going to take random questions or comments. I mean, just look at, these are Canadian Indians. It's absurd for students protesting. Imagine protesting to a foreign country to extend your work permits. Who the hell are you?
Exactly.
Like this other thing that we've just glossed is like the fact that they're like, my work permit is expiring, I must protest.
Yeah.
Like you either have to renew. Like there's what are you talking about?
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. The next one. I bet you there will be an increase in Khalistan recruiters in the next few months, and an increase in asylum ops. It is a great way to get asylum. Well, now you can also pretend to be gay, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, by the
there's
way, I
also
can
that.
hear. I mean, that comment. If you're going to bet on it, you can bet on it, because you can guarantee in the next year or so, I'm going to have a Khalistan referendum. Like we're going to do a Khalistan referendum. Like I'm going to do one too.
By the way, Daniel, the flag is ready. The flag is ready.
Get me a Khalistan flag. Oh, I'm gonna should Lahore be part of Khalistan? We're gonna do a referendum there, And
I just
we're gonna have
forwarded
a-
an article to you, Kushal. I don't know if it if it's
Yeah, it's in
any help.
2021. Punjab's plans raise hue and cry from consultants because immigration consultants are up in arms against a plan by the government in the Indian state of Punjab, a large source of Canada's immigrants and internationals, to create an agency that will stream students to Canadian universities. And yeah, because the Indian government, the Indian side of Punjab actually cared for human trafficking for a change.
Mm-hmm.
They actually cared. So maybe Darshan, you can take this question. What amazes me is the lack of self-awareness about how the Canadian government enables these kinds of scams to flourish. Again, this is a Canadian of Indian origin, ladies and gentlemen. M. Shastri is as Indian as it gets. When was the last CBSA crackdown, Darshan bhai?
CBSA is routinely unable to find even people against whom deportation orders have been issued, and their
Yeah.
numbers are usually in the tens of thousands. I've usually heard 35,000, 47,000. So, see, this is the crux of it, which is that any economy will need a prime mover.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came to Canada, I learned that Canada was a resource based economy. Now, this I thought was a good thing because resources are the prime mover of any economy. So, we have oil and gas and coal and potash and, the forests to cut down for softwood lumber and things like that. That has been discouraged, to put it mildly. So the economy is in need of a prime mover. And that prime mover, of course, for a long time, there was this real estate Ponzi, which required immigration Ponzi. So the numbers were always expanding. But the reason why they had to be uh, increased to the point of weaponization was because we stopped giving due importance to the prime movers of our economy. So, from one angle, this whole argument that Canada will collapse if not for immigration holds true. We have to buttress our prime movers back again to what they were. But until then, this is the only thing we have got, where people borrow money abroad, come here, spend that money at bogus
Mm-hmm.
institutions, then pay for LMIA and work under the minimum wage, and
Yeah.
that is our prime mover of economy, and that is
Yeah.
why it's such a low quality prime mover that it is spreading uh, the opposite of prosperity. Let's call it poverty.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we are at. So, the way I see it, Pierre Poilievre's task on the economic front, which is
He
combined
is
with the
so
immigration front,
screwed.
Yeah.
couldn't be more uphill.
Yeah.
Darshan bhai, and maybe this is something I'm going to talk to you later on about. That today I was just having a discussion that Justin Trudeau, and by the way, Anne Boyer, I completely support this referendum, that let's make a referendum to change Jagmeet Singh's name to Hugmeet Singh, as per some Indians here. Thanks for explaining what hug means in Indian. And we as Indians completely support this. And Indo-Canadian community will actually vote in large numbers to call him what he is. He's Hugmeet. And Daniel smiles because I have told Daniel what Hugmeet means. Daniel was one of the first Canadians to know about Hugmeet Singh.
I've known about this for 10 months now.
Yes.
That's not bad. Maybe a
So,
bit more.
but
I want to say Darshan's completely right about
Yeah, Darshan
turn
bhai
off the
is
resource economy. This immigration, this human trafficking and money laundering is now our number one industry. We
Yeah.
call it
Yes.
immigration, but it's human
Yeah.
trafficking and money laundering, and it's the number one industry in Canada. And
Mhm.
all of this can be solved by going back to oil, gas, natural resources, everything we have here in Canada. The problem, it's literally like the you can't look. The country's immune from an immigration crisis. It's immune. There's ocean to the left, ocean to the right, ice to the north, to our south, the richest country in the history of the world.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
geographically immune from immigration crisis. The only way to get an immigration crisis in Canada is to manufacture one from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Absolutely.
did, and we turned it into
Yeah.
an industry, and the political parties are making tons of money off of it.
Yeah.
Everyone making tons of money. Down just at all points of the institution, people are making money, trafficking these kids. And Darshan hit it right again. You're paying tens of thousands of dollars to get in, tens of thousands of dollars more. This is what's keeping the Canadian economy more, is lying to lots of kids, mostly in India, mostly in Punjab, selling them on this dream that is Canada, hooking them here, and then forcing them into indentured servitude to pay off loans they took back in India, and calling this progressive, fair, workers' rights, anti-racism, whatever it is you want to call it. But it's this being nice to foreigners, this anti-racism bullshit has resulted in a exploitation of the very people they claim to protect, and it's driving everyone crazy. I call this industrial level gaslighting. And then it's being pushed by the anti-India faction, to be pushed by incredibly anti-India factions, and you could say in Khalistanis or CCP. And then the irony is, because anti-India factions are pushing them and some of them are brown, the blowback is then coming on the Indian community for the nonsense that the most anti-Indian elements of the foreign students are doing. So it's all absurdity and gaslighting.
And you know what?
Because of welcome to Canada.
Because of the small minority of Khalistanis that have destroyed the immigration system by gaming it. I'm not saying other communities are not involved, but stop kidding me if you're going to tell me that this is not overwhelmingly run by the Khalistani networks. Just stop it right there, okay? I know who runs this. That student protest right now going on is supported by two organizations that are notoriously known to be very Khalistan adjacent. Go check it out. I mean, Mocha Bezirgan has already tweeted the names of the organization. I don't need to talk about it. I have to take this question as I am the Punjabi on the panel. Can someone explain why Punjabis are obsessed with Canada? Their lives are miserable here, but they still want to stay here. Saurav Bhagat, because that's your name, who is the person who has asked this question. I am in a unique position because I was born and raised in Mumbai, in a Gujarati area, in a Marathi state, as a Punjabi boy. I have failed to understand this obsession with Canada amongst most Punjabis. I honestly say this, which is why my plea in Hindi, or I could have done it in Punjabi also, because honestly it should have been in Punjabi, but I fail to understand this. Listen, Punjab has a giant problem. I don't want to take the name, because there are some of us who are very, who are responsible boys and girls of Punjabi origin in India. And one of them, who I respect a lot, he still lives in Punjab, goes back and forth, Delhi and Punjab. And he's a Sikh boy. He was telling me, Kushal, we need to do something. We need to some of us need to get together, and we need to stop sending our children to Canada. Because I think it's a combination of FOMO, fear of missing out. It's a combination of being sold scams and shams. And then, like every Ponzi scheme, eventually what happens is, when the Ponzi scheme gets caught out, the ones in the last end of the Ponzi scheme end up getting robbed the most. And these students are basically the ones who are at the end of the Ponzi scheme. And which is why I'm saying, don't fall for the UN report. The UN report is just the cover to legalize all these 100,000 people. That is what the UN report is for. And I don't know what Punjabis see in Canada, man. I seriously don't understand what Punjabis find in Canada. It's like, my reasons are personal. I never share my reasons. It's like, it's my personal life. I don't want anybody to have pity on me or of any sort. But I mean, after being married to a Canadian for 17 years, I did not bother about a PR or anything. I mean, I didn't care. I have no, even now I stay 6 months in India. Like Sangita knows, I try to run back to Mumbai as fast as I can. I mean, I'm fine in India. And the irony is, my Sikh friends in Mumbai now call me, and they tell me that I don't know what the craze for Canada is in Punjab. They are confused in Mumbai. They don't understand. Sikhs in Delhi don't understand this. And it's just, it's so traumatic and tragic at the same time that,
Listen, I call Calistani nonsense. I call international bullshit. And the reason here, I think it serves the people, to whoever is benefiting off of this, to sell this lie to the Punjabi kids, because then they can bring them here en masse, and when they're here en masse, they're easy to exploit and take advantage of, and to get into these gangs. Because again, you're in a situation, you're an 18, 19-year-old kid. Okay, an 18, 19-year-old man, what does he want? He wants an 18 to 9-year-old girl most of the time. How can you get that living in a basement with 12 other guys? No. Okay? It's or it's you're living life on hard mode at that point. Oh, you want money, and then you get into, okay, hey, you want to join this Gadar, you join this gang, you help us out, you get into the criminal side of it, you get money, you get these fancy cars, you probably can live in an apartment by yourself, but then you're caught up in these life of Calisthenic crime, but then you go to legitimize it, you get into the system, and then you say, okay, yes, we'll do the politics, and like you become foot soldiers for these organizations. Like it's and it behooves the people on top of this pyramid in the top of the Ponzi scheme to recruit new members. So that's what I see this is. It's the people at the top knowing it's a Ponzi scheme, wanting to sell it to Punjabi students, because again, they're the most easily that they can exploit, because if they have poor English skills, even better. It's even better if you can bring people into Canada with poor English skills, if you're a Calistani, because then they're even easier to exploit. Instead of costing, oh, I might have to invest $5,000 to corrupt this guy into becoming a gangster. They don't speak English. $500 might do it, right? Like it's, or just a threat of this. Like there's clearly incentives from the people at the top of these Ponzi schemes to sell these lies to the kids in Punjab, because they're the most vulnerable to fall for the radical ideological stuff that they can then bombard them to when they see that the dream that they had come to collect on was in fact not real. But that's just my 2 cents.
It's just disappointing. Go ahead, Sangita.
I just think historically, industries like agriculture and manufacturing, they were some of the reasons that kind of drew Punjabis, especially with Punjabis very established here, right? But I mean, obviously, to Daniel's point, things have really drastically changed now. It's not the same anymore. I mean, there was the sense of belonging, I think, for Punjabis in the past, but now, I don't know. It's changed in the last 4 or 5 years.
I find it so disappointing as an ethnically Punjabi boy. I honestly, it hurts me so much. A rich culture, amazing poetry, amazing art has been reduced to what? I mean, there is no Indian poetry without Punjabi poetry. It's just that you can't have Indian poetry without Punjabi. And to reduce this great culture to, I don't know what
amazing food.
Yeah,
can I give some people some good news without getting people messaging me over this? There was a Calisthenic, Jagmeet Singh's former aide or whatever, one of Jagmeet Singh's former people, NDP big Calistani. She was disqualified from the Conservative Party in BC.
The one I was whining about to you?
Yeah. Gone.
Victory. Gone. Huh. A piece of shit. Oh, well, anyways.
So
good.
There, some good
Finally,
news.
some good news. Finally, some good news. But one last thing to the Canadians who are listening to this. I don't care what ethnicity you are. First of all, immigration is a good thing. Canadians, please don't go crazy. Immigration is a good thing if done well. It was happening. All these people you see at some point of time in their life, they entered Canada. I am actually the latest one. I'm the latest entrant. Dan's family came to Canada from somewhere. Sangita came to Canada from somewhere. Darshan came to Canada from somewhere. Immigration, if done right, is amazing. The problem is when you and Daniel hit the nail on the head, and Darshan hit the nail on the head. When life is about trade-offs and incentives, as the great Thomas Sowell would say. When your incentives and trade-offs are messed up, this is what you get. People like Sangita Iyer add value to Canadian society when they make award-winning documentaries. It's Canada that gets all the plaudits. Try and understand, don't become anti-immigrant or anti-immigration. Demand what should be righteous. You broke the economy, you selected the wrong leader. For what? I don't know. That's not my problem. That's for you to solve. Or maybe it is for me to solve. But before we wrap up, one by one, I want everyone to have the last comment, but I want to start with Sangita. Your words first.
Gosh, I would just second everything you said, Kushal. Is everybody needs to put their differences aside and think as a Canadian first and what's good for this country. not think of us, in as separate identities. That the divide is what's causing the issue more than anything. So let's not paint everybody with the same brush. Look at Canada, look at the issue, come together. I even request people from our community, speak up. There are many who don't speak up, and pay attention. I also worry that, one, about the next generation, how this is impacting our next generation going forward. Also, come election time next year, remember, don't forget, we have a very short term memory. Don't forget the mess that was created, because they might try and show that they're cleaning up the mess, but the mess originally was created by them. So I would say, just follow policy, follow what's going on, ask questions, and make the right decision, and come together. Like, I feel like coming together, putting our differences aside, and focusing on what's good for Canada is what's key right now. Don't let them break us or divide us.
All right, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, my message is going to be similar, except the exact opposite. Guys, it's time. Canada's fallen, and in the wise words of me, if you can't beat them, join them. So join Calistan. But remember, I'm the head of Calistan. So come join me. Declare refugee status. Get a computer science degree. You don't get whatever degree you want from whatever university you want. They're basically participation trophies. They're little like candies you can take at a steakhouse. That's a university degree. You deserve one. You deserve refugee status, even if you were born in Canada. Maybe get refugee status in India. Make it go back the way. But I'm just here to say it's all broken. No one should take this country seriously anymore. Just turn your brains off, because if you think about it, you're going to go crazy. Just turn your brains off. Wave your Calistan flag. Apply for whatever social service. Defraud the immigration system. Apply for CERB. Even though COVID's over, get more COVID money. You all deserve COVID money. You all deserve permanent residency to wherever it is you want to go. And most importantly, you all deserve a computer science degree, because this is currently on a computer, and you're watching it right now like a scientist. So get out there, come to Canada. There are no problems here. It's all rainbows and unicorns. Join Calistan and vote Trudeau.
Oh my God.
Darshan bhai.
No, I'll combine the 2 points that Sangita ji and Daniel made. Basically, it was back in January last year when I made a startling discovery and then wrote an article titled "Immigration Does Not Increase Prosperity." And at that time, this was like dynamite. Everybody was so angry at me. Where I crunched some official numbers and came to the result that the inflation adjusted growth average per capita in GDP in the 1960s, from 1961 to 1970, was 4.22%. And in the latest decade, 2012 to 2021, it was 0.67%. I faced a lot of fire on that, and I held firm, saying I'm sure of my work because it's all from official data. And then 6 months later, OECD came out saying that Canada's growth was 0.80%. So 0.67 to 0.80, a little bit of a difference. And then OECD issued another report recently saying that Canada will have the lowest growth rate, and in fact, it will be anemic for the next 40 years. So I want someone to, it's about 1.1% or something, very anemic. So I want someone to explain to these kids, or at least ask them, if they want to live a life of drudgery in Canada or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are pushing for PR, but then what happens after PR? Do they want to reach retiring age and look back and see nothing that they have benefited from living in Canada? Because that is the possibility that I see. So all these community leaders who are helping the students to stage the protests and organize and all the resources required, some of them might want to ask them as to what is your vision for the future in Canada, because you want to stay here. And once that becomes clear, I think many of them will realize that this is not the dream that they bought. It was always a fake dream, and then they will hopefully make a better choice in their life.
I'll just say this before I wrap up. Once again, I'll say something in Hindi. जो भी है, अगर तुम स्टूडेंट हो और तुम यहाँ पे सोच रहे हो ये सब करने की और तुमने कोई डिप्लोमा मिल में ये काम किया था, देख बेटा बेटी, तेरा मेजर सी कटा है, मुझे मालूम है, तेरा पैसा डूबा है, मुझे मालूम है, मगर अपने माँ बाप का और पैसा मत डुबा। जो भी घटिया डिग्री तूने की है, खत्म कर बच्चे, और इंडिया जा, और अभी पैसे बचा। मेरी बात मान, कोई अच्छे फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजर के पास जाना, उधर भी कोई घटिया वाला नहीं पकड़ लेना, मगर अच्छे फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजर के पास जा और ये पैसा मार्केट में लगा दे इंडिया के। अरे भाई, जिस देश का तू इतना बड़ा बड़ा बातें करता है ना, वो भी हमारे देश में पैसा लगा रहा है अभी, क्योंकि उसको भी मालूम है पैसा किधर है। समझो, सबको पता है पैसा किधर है अभी। मैंने खुद बेटा, मैंने 1 रुपया कनाडा के मार्केट में नहीं लगाया हुआ है, एक चवन्नी भी नहीं, और मैं पैसे वाला भारतीय हूँ। मेरा पूरा 100% पोर्टफोलियो बेटा इंडिया में है। मैं इतना बुलिश हूँ इंडिया में। समझो, अपनी जिंदगी मत बर्बाद करो। एंड नाउ द मैसेज इन इंग्लिश फॉर कैनेडियंस. Once again,
Daniel is your leader in Punjabi. You were just
Yes.
saying in Punjabi, Daniel's the head of Khalistan. Join it. If you see an airplane, blow up an airplane or two, maybe assassinate a politician. Who knows? Have fun, follow your life, live, laugh, love. That is what he said in Punjabi, as I now understand, because I'm now the king of Khalistan. But
Yeah.
if you want to give an alternative translation.
So somebody has requested you give Daniel a samosa. Oh my goodness. But yeah, to everybody in Canada, once again, you need immigration. In Hindi, we have a beautiful saying that it should be, the salt should be as per the requirement in the food. When the salt increases, the food gets spoiled. We call it aate mein namak, not namak mein aata in Hindi. We call it that. But that's what it is. Immigration, if done right, is amazing. The reason North America is the least racist part of the world is North America truly was the land of immigrants, which is where you can talk to any American, even white Americans, when they go to Europe. The first thing they tell is, yo, those people are racist. And I'm not talking about brown or black North Americans. I'm talking about white North Americans who, when they go there, they're like, these people are not like us. It's because North America truly was a land of immigrants. Immigration will never stop in North America because that's how this land was built. It was built by different streams of people coming in. But we have to do this right. The current government of Justin Trudeau and Hugmeet Singh, because that's all he should be called. They have destroyed your beautiful country. I still believe things can be fixed. I'm not that negative as Daniel is. I believe things can be fixed. Now, Daniel could accuse me of being a eternal optimist, and I am an eternal optimist. I don't know about that, but I do believe immigration, if done right, even right now, Canada can be fixed. A few good immigration policies, but as Canadian citizens, please, my request to you is, your country is hijacked by 3-4 separatist extremist movements. Your country is literally hijacked by Islamism, Khalistan, and the Chinese Communist Party. Your country is,
and global communist leftism too. But
too. It's all it's downstream from that.
Yeah.
Study that more. Till now, Khalistan has not gotten the kind of attention it deserves. And I want to repeat this again. Khalistan is not a problem in India. Believe me when I say this, I am an Indian. I still live in India for 6 months in a year. Khalistan is a problem over here. Fix your mess, Canadians. They keep on saying, go back to India. The highest level of radicalism, Canadians, is actually in second and third generation kids over here. Sangita was right beside me. I'm not going to take the name of the person who said, I've stopped sending my kids to a Gurdwara over here. Sangita was right beside me when that conversation happened. And it's not like Sangita and I were like, yeah, awesome, kids not going to Gurdwara. It broke our heart, especially my heart as a Punjabi. I grew up around Gurdwaras and temples. I'm a Punjabi boy. I just happen to be Hindu. We don't discriminate between a temple and a gurdwara. That's not Punjabi culture. But what is happening in Canada, I can assure you, as a Hindu Punjabi, I don't go to gurdwaras over here. They are that toxic that I don't go to, and many Sikhs have stopped going to gurdwaras over here. Fix your country, Canadians, by demanding answers from your politicians. Also, follow all these three people on social media. I have shared their details in the description of the podcast. And if you can support me and my podcast, you can join the membership program. I don't do ad reads on this podcast is because I want to talk about whatever I want to.
This
I'm an
podcast
open.
is sponsored by Calistan. Well, I'm loving. By the way, I'm loving what the comments have been on the last 5 minutes since my declaration of the King of Calistan. I had a lot of fun watching the scroll of just all my different Calistan.
This is why I did not want to open the comments.
And this is what I wanted, because I wanted to encourage this bad behavior or good behavior. Yeah, well, either way, whatever shenanigans the comment section has been up to, I encourage it. We need more shenanigans. This is the only way forward is, shenanigans and fun. Just, live, laugh, love, and make fun of Calistanis online.
Yeah, please do that and follow all of them. Darshan also has a website. Daniel has a PayPal. Sangita also has her handle of Metal Films. You can go follow Metal Films also. Check out her work and her documentaries. You know where to find me. And if you have anything else, you can always talk to me on social media. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.